Hey everyone, thanks so much for tuning in. So I'm going to do a video on this new Shiro that I picked up last week, and I was kind of surprised how many people were requesting a video on this particular knife. I have done Shirogorov videos before, and Shirogorov typically has a consistency and a quality control that is, well, probably second to none. So if you've had 195, you've pretty much had any 95 in terms of how they feel in their action. Now this is, I don't know, perhaps one of the newer generations. There are some changes, and so I'm going to talk about why Shirogorov, why this particular model, because I was weighing a couple, and then a couple different comparisons in terms of value, and talking about kind of benchmarks among production knives. So here's what it ships with. Let me show you guys real quickly. It's just a standard black box, really nothing exciting, especially considering the price. But we'll talk about the price and specs here in a minute. There is one important component that I did want to show you guys, and that is the certificate of authenticity. So this particular card means that it was bought from the only authorized US dealer, which is Recon One. And this card means that if I do have a problem with this knife, the knife can go back to Recon One, and then they will ship it to Russia for any service, warranty, maintenance, things of that sort. So this little piece of paper here is worth quite a bit. So yeah, that's what the knife ships with. Again, if you buy on the secondary market or it's not from Recon One, you can send your knife to Russia to have it serviced, but obviously the shipping is on you, the risk is on you, the cost is on you. So buying from that one authorized dealer is not the least expensive option out there, but it does come with some protection in place, I suppose. So this particular model is, if I haven't already showed you guys, the F95NL. So green canvas micarta, Almax blade, single row bearing system. Pretty standard stuff for the 95 line. And 95 is in reference to the blade length, which I believe is 95 millimeters. So someone correct me if I'm wrong. But I sold off some knives, freed up some cash, and so I was looking at two companies in particular, which are at the very top end of production knives. Shirogorov being one, and the other I was looking at Rockstead. And when I started to figure out which model I want, and I started looking at the prices, the Rockstead was actually closer to $1,500, $1,600, $1,700 for the models I was interested in. And for a production knife, I mean, that's over my limit for a custom, let alone a production knife, so that went right out the window. And so I was left with a Shirogorov, which is perfectly fine. I've had 5 different, this is my 5th one. I've had a Shirogorov 111 that I traded into, sold, and I took a huge bath on that one. I had an F3, which is a model similar but slightly different, little fatter handles, not titanium, it's a liner lock in lieu of a frame lock. Liked it, but it was a little bit fatter in the handle than I prefer. I had another 95 that had a marble G10 inlay, and I picked it up knowing that I really wanted a carbon fiber inlay instead. So again, kind of a minor qualm, but when you have a production knife that's upward of $700 and you're looking to free up cash, if you don't absolutely love the knife, it's typically the first to go. And then the last one that I had prior to this one was the custom division, and I love that knife. It was perfection. I filmed a video, but I just couldn't bring myself to upload it since I said I was never going to sell it, and I did end up selling it. Basically, I started getting offers for more than double the price of the knife, and at that point I just started getting nervous about scratching it or damaging it through carry, since it was kind of above my comfort level as far as pricing goes. And so that one ultimately got sold, and again, here we are. This model, I was looking at this one, and then I was looking at the 95T, which stands for turtle. It's got an interesting milling pattern. It's got some jimping here on the spine of the blade. It has slightly more weight reduction, and then it has a multi-row bearing system in lieu of the single row bearing system that's on this knife. Now, I was really weighing the two heavily because I really like them both, and honestly, the 95 Turtle has, Like, I really like the jimping on the spine of the turtle. I certainly preferred that over this knife, but I preferred the handle of this knife. You know, Elmax versus Vanix, 37. Arguably, the Vanix is potentially a better steel on paper, but I'm not going to, push Elmax to its limits, to be honest. It's fairly comparable to M390 with a little bit less edge retention as kind of a broad, sweeping overview of Elmax steel. So anyways, I was really weighing those two heavily, and then once I realized that there was a price differential, $400, 700 for this one versus 1,075 for the turtle, I opted for the less expensive one because I wanted to get one that I would not be tempted to sell again. And over $1,000 for a production knife, it's always tempting to let that go. So this one I felt would be safer long term for me. And again, the reason that I wanted it is because this knife kind of serves as the bar, a bar for high-end production flippers. There's a lot of great knives out there that serve as bars or serve as kind of set points for different price levels. $200. The ZT 801 Ti, which is the newest version of the 801, fantastic bang for the buck at $200. The ZT0562, amazing bang for the buck at $240. You get better steel, you get carbon fiber, arguably a better pocket clip. Best materials you can get in this price point. Above this, you're getting to things other than just materials and quality. So, another good example of kind of a bar setting knife. Another one you guys are all very familiar with is, of course, the Chris Reeve Sebenza 21. This knife serves to set the bar for really high quality production knives done with thumb studs in lieu of flippers. These two companies have quite a bit in common. They have been refining the Sebenza 21 for, decades now. 20, 25 years, something like that. I think it was 1991 the first Sebenza 21 came out. Anyways, you guys get the point. The Shirogorov, like the 95, I want to say they've been out for, maybe 7 to 10 years. Something in that range. Again, I'm not really too concerned about the details. You guys are getting the point here. But, they have refined the 95 design over the years. And, it's said that Shirogorov's machining is on par or better than Chris Reeve. From a tolerance standpoint, I'm not going to say that it is or isn't. I don't really know. I'd have to get in here with like a jeweler's loop and really start to delve into the machining. But, it goes without saying that the Shirogorov quality is second to none, especially when you're looking at flippers. So, this knife sets the bar for the really high-end production flippers. Do I think that everyone should own one? Probably not, It also goes without saying that Shirogorov knives are overpriced. We all know this. Obviously, it has not stopped me the 5 times that I've bought a Shirogorov, and I keep coming back to them. But it's true. Is it really significantly better than ZT? Marginally, but you're paying more than double the price, even up against perhaps the limited edition ZT like the 0392, which this might compare against favorably. It's still that one's about 400. Yeah, 400 versus 700, almost double the price. You guys get the point. So it's overpriced. Again, that's the ticket to play. If you don't want to buy one, then don't. Do I think that people should experience one at some point? I certainly do. The things that this does really well are actually quite a few. Action, on point. Very, very smooth, very solid. The D10 isn't overly difficult to open, but you just get this really solid movement. There are no hot spots. The geometry is fantastic on the flipper tab. There's a slight cutout here that makes it easier to flip. You guys see that little circle and dots right there? That means single row bearing system. I can't get my finger anywhere near the edge on this knife. Centering is perfect. Lockup is perfect. The machining, the inlay is perfect. It does have a proprietary hardware of sorts, but a flathead screwdriver will of course function without a problem if you don't want to buy one of their tools. The pocket clip, beautifully designed, functions perfectly. This works really well in jeans. It works. It's very attractive. It's unique. If you're a knife guy, it's kind of unmistakable. They did some milling here in the titanium and the micarta to make it easier to get into the pocket. Again, a lot of forethought. Minimal gap for the cutouts on the frame. You know, full flat grind with not an overly thick blade stock. These knives slice very, very well. These are very slicey knives. So, I mean, just a lot of really good features. Again, it's a design that has been refined. These new models, this one doesn't really have an internal milling, but I want to say this new 95 is lighter than the marbled G10 95 that I had, if memory serves correctly. So, yeah, just a lot of things dialed really well. The lock bar, the cutout here for disengagement, super easy to disengage, no hot spots, very comfortable. In the hand, you don't feel it, it doesn't dig in at all. If I had one knock, and the reason that I really like the turtle is that the spine of the blade is 90 degrees on both sides. It's not terribly uncomfortable, but again, it's a 90-degree angle, so you're going to feel that. The turtle had this cutout right here with jimping, and they chamfered the edges and so forth. So, that was kind of the one thing that I wish this model had was, a little bit nicer, the jimping and the milling here on the blade. I think that would have made this model absolutely perfect. The argument of single row versus double row bearing or multi-row bearing system, again, it's not really important. It's something for us to geek out on as enthusiasts, but it's not really important. There are tons and tons of knives that use single row bearing systems, none of which have had a problem. Some of them have been in the market for, in use in people's rotations for at least 8 years, maybe longer. If there are some older models on bearings that I can't think of. So, yeah, just some really incredible machining. There's a machinist down in South Africa that I really like, Luke Princeton. He works with Clyde Challenor, and he collects Shirogorovs, and he's a fantastic machinist. And he said their machining and their fit and finish is second to none. So, if I'm going to trust someone, it's definitely going to be a machinist who makes knives, who collects knives based on his admiration of the machining. I think that's a pretty strong endorsement. There's the lanyard hole. But anyways, so that's why I picked this one. Price was kind of the predominant factor, but I did really like this green micarta as well. Initially I was most attracted to this, and then I liked the features on the turtle, and then I liked the price on this one, and then this one came back in stock, and Recon One was kind enough to message me to let me know it was back on stock because I had inquired. So kudos on their customer service. I was quite impressed. But it's a beautiful piece, and it's one that I certainly plan to keep. And thankfully, it's not super limited. It's not a custom division, so I'm not going to have people beating down my door, offering me more than double, the $700 table price on this one. No one's going to really care that I have it, which is a safe place to be. So, anyways, this was mostly a ramble, guys. Again, the reputation of Shirogorov is certainly well known, well regarded. They make some of the most expensive knives in the world. When you look at their full customs done by Sergei Shirogorov, they're collected by people around the world. The reputation is second to none. The fit and finish is held in the same regard as the overall reputation. So, again, it sets the bar if you're looking to try something at the very top end. Again, I'm not saying that anyone needs to own this. I'm saying that everyone should try it at some point, whether that's at Blade Show, which is coming up very, very soon. I think the USN show, I think they're there potentially. Or again, local get-togethers with other knife guys, which I highly recommend you guys organize and do. One last note, the micarta is not as grippy as I thought it would be. I thought it would actually be grippier than it is. It's fairly smooth. I imagine with use and with oils and other things, as I, kind of use this one and beat this up and it gets impregnated with all of my yucky hand grease, that it'll actually pick up a little bit of grip down the line. So anyways, definitely stoked with this one. I think it's a beautiful piece. I've always liked their work. I wish it was just less expensive. So anyways, I will leave it there. Hopefully you found this interesting or entertaining or of some value. Comments or questions, let me know, and I will link at the end of this video to at least one other Shirogorov video that I've done in the past. And if you guys want me to, perhaps I will upload the custom division video, which I never made public because I was ashamed for selling. So again, thanks for watching. Take care, guys.